Conker the Squirrel, the happy-go-lucky protagonist of the series of the same name. Conker had his debut in a game people familiar with this channel will know, Diddy Kong Racing, and he was pretty decent at it. After Conker had his fill of kart racing, he moved on to a different kind of kart, a Game Boy Color kart to be exact, which I do in fact own. This was a quirky Zelda-like adventure where Conker had to save his girlfriend Barry, who was kidnapped by an evil acorn. Then, the promise of a new 3D platformer was thrown into the mix, known as Conker's Quest, eventually changing its name to 12 Tales Conker 64. This set out to be another rare masterpiece, until... I don't know what people were upset about, but they were making another platformer in the Rare style. This sparked an idea over at Rare with the people making the game. They said, hey, let's make it funny.
Okay.
And thus, our happy-go-lucky protagonist turned into the drunken, swearing, over-the-top squirrel we all know and love. This is analyzing Conker's Bad Fur Day. Important disclosure, this game is meant for mature audiences, so viewer discretion is advised. To start us off, I don't normally make a habit of swearing, and I especially take pride to keep my channel as clean as possible, but it only feels fitting that I lift my rule this one time, so kids, cover your ears. I'm gonna swear in 3, 2, 1, frick. Oh, okay. Now that that's over with, let's get into the game's intro. We start off with the familiar N64 logo, and Conker comes in with the chainsaw, cutting it in half and calling it a stupid logo. Man, edgy.
Stupid logo.
Conker's model's changed a bit, but not too much since Diddy Kong Racing. He's a red squirrel with a blue zip jacket, white gloves, and some blue and yellow sneakers. The cool thing about Conker's model is his face changes to reflect his mood in the game. A lot of detail went into this, and it's pretty cool. Throughout the game, you'll see how expressive he is, and that translates as well to his idle animation. He'll do a lot of different things if you just stay still. My favorite is he plays a Game Boy. Let's hit up the game menu. Conker stumbles into a bar and we meet a colorful cast of characters, and we'll go more in depth on them as we meet them. You'll notice our pal Banjo is a decoration above the fireplace, and Kazooie is on this umbrella handle. We have 3 game files to choose from and a basic menu with sound options and cheats. Anyways, let's start the game. Ah yes, the game Nintendo regrets publishing. We get a front shot of Conker with a somewhat menacing looking smirk. He's drinking a glass of milk and has a crown. It's revealed he's sitting on a throne surrounded by tons of characters from the game. Then, the narration begins. And yes, this game has full voice acting throughout the whole game. This is huge for a 64 title. I should add, as far as I can tell, there are literally 3 voice actors in this. Conker himself, Chris Seaver, Barry herself, Louise Ridgway, followed by Chris Marlowe, who voices the great and mighty. We'll get to him in a bit. The first 2 voice every other character in the game, which is pretty crazy. Conker tells us the tale of how he got to where he is. It happened yesterday in what he dubs
A bad fur day.
title drop. So we get in and see Barry, and immediately you'll notice this model's completely different than the one in 12 Tales and Pocket Tales. She's a tall gray chipmunk with a very Valley Girl demeanor in her voice. She has a blonde ponytail and pink top, shorts, and sneakers. Conker calls her to tell her he won't be home until late. She's working out and didn't get the call, and then she gets kidnapped, of course. Cut forward a bit more, and Conker is absolutely trashed from his night out on the town. He's trying to navigate home, but obviously has issues, including throwing up right outside the bar. Cut to the scene of a familiar throne room in a castle with a giant Panther King. He gets some more milk poured in his glass, sets it on the table, and it falls, revealing one of the legs to be broken. The Panther King is a very intense and intimidating model, obviously our main antagonist. Cut back to Conker, and he's waking up in a haze. It's here where we get our first taste of gameplay. Conker's not doing so hot. We move slow and hiccup as Conker's grabbing his head. I love how his tongue is animating out of his mouth and his eyes are totally bloodshot. See, that's what I'm talking about with expressing his emotions. It's pretty great. We navigate into this garden and meet Birdie, who's a scarecrow who must be a huge fan of Christian Bale's Batman because that is one raspy voice. He teaches us how to use our context-sensitive skill. This is the main gimmick of Conker. You find these pads and get a little light bulb above you indicating to press B. And once you do, well,
Just what I needed. In fact, it would seem to me that these give me just what I need at that moment in time. Oh, I see what he means. Context sensitive.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. Armed with our new power, we can start progressing through the world. It's worth mentioning how we have comic book-like text bubbles. It gives a certain feel to the game that's a little meta. Conker often talks to you, the player, as well, and reflects his thoughts throughout the game. Conker acquires his basic platforming abilities right after this, which include running, jumping, swimming, with little floaties, a crouch to high jump, and a tail hover move. Conker feels good and does a little twirl if you're moving fast and jump. Now we encounter our first enemy, a gargoyle, on the bridge blocking our way. He's big and bluish gray, looking like stone with horns and bright red eyes. He taunts us with some crap about gothic architecture and to come closer, which I obliged him, and dang, that got graphic quick! He threw me off the bridge. Wow. If we make our way back up, we can find a door that has a little key in it, and we learn our basic attack. Hitting stuff with a frying pan! We could smack that key and get out. We hit the gargoyle with a frying pan, and he laughs so hard he falls to his doom. You know what? We'll take it. A rock falls conveniently blocking our path right after this, but using the power of context-sensitive buttons, we can blow it up. This just shows the variety of things that the context-sensitive buttons can do. You really never know what's going to happen until you use it. We get another shot of the castle, this time meeting Professor von Krippelspeck. I think I pronounced that right. I don't know. We'll just run with it. He's the head scientist of the king. The king calls him in to have him solve his table issue, to which the scientist gets right to work back in his lab. He points out the anti-gravity chocolate on the table, but throws it out. It lands right in front of Conker, and this anti-gravity chocolate functions as their main health system in the game. Now here we are in the game's main hub area, Windy. That first area was just a brief section making our way here. Windy is where it's at. Let's talk about that music. It's super happy and bouncy, like a fun summer's day. It's got a woodwind feel to it with some brassy notes coming in. It stays pretty happy the whole way and gets remixed into a few different versions throughout the game. This is definitely the tune you think of when you think of Conker. Progressing forward, we meet the queen bee crying about her hive. She's a giant bee with a crown. I don't know how to summarize it better than that. We offer to get her hive back that was stolen by wasps. We can run up the way, snag it, and head back. Except, they chase after us. I like that the boss of the wasps has a small cigar. But anyways, this is intense. As you carry the hive back, they actively attack you. If you stand still for a moment, you'll be hurt. Make it back, and the queen bee takes care of these. Conker's kind of a selfish jerk, I'm not gonna lie, but it's pretty funny. He says he's not surprised when she mentions her husband left her for another woman. Like, ugh. But here we are. We acquire a main collectible in the game. Cash. Yep, just straight up cash. With eyeballs. They often call for us, which makes them easier to find, and it's really nice for collecting. Once acquired, this will trigger an animation where Conker gets dollar signs in his eyes. This is a small note, but I like how the music changes to sound like bee buzzing as we get close to the hive. This is a continuing trend in rare games. Pushing forward, we get another context-sensitive moment where we can use a slingshot and get rid of these dung beetles. At this spot, Birdie shows up and gives us a manual, which we can refer to throughout the game. Beating these and progressing forward, we get yet another small cutscene where the professor's working at the problem of the table. He teases his teddies, and then kind of threatens the king? Anyways, back to Conker. Entering our first real level, dubbed Barn Boys as far as I can tell online. This world is bright and colorful, as well as continuing our windy theme, but switching instruments to more banjo and harmonica to get kind of a country feel. It's got a large barn, a cheese farm, and a small pond area. We meet some interesting characters, so let's start with the outside. We have several metal boxes hopping around everywhere, and they'll smush you if you're underneath their path. Immediately on our right, we meet Jack. He was a big metal box with a girl metal box on top of him. I won't tell you what he called her. He wants us to get her off of him. She won't come down, though, because of the disgusting mouse Marvin running around in front of him. And, to be fair, he is disgusting, burping, stinky gas clouds constantly. Jack tells us to go find his friend Bert and mention his name, and it'll be good. Bert's sitting in front of the cheese area, and he opens the gate, so we can then bring these cheese characters to the mouse, and he eats them until he explodes. Yes, he explodes, and it is graphic. It's pretty intense. I gotta say, that cheese is also pretty intense. And as someone who was born in Wisconsin and an avid cheese lover, I've never seen cheese that does that. This mouse is hilarious. He's burping everywhere, he's got goofy teeth, crossed eyes. I like to point out that even though he blows up, he's all stitched back together in the intro, so things must be okay later somehow. We also meet the queen bee's husband, who wants to pollinate this big-breasted flower. And to do that, we gather these tickle bees to get her to open up and be ready. And then what befalls is disturbing. It's not shown, but the audio? Dang, these voice actors really committed. Anyways, as far as the outside, that's pretty much it. Oh, and that'll give us some cash, too, that we can bounce on the flower to get up and grab some cash. Yeah, it's as ridiculous as it looks. Oh, if we die, we get to meet the Grim Reaper. He's a bit smaller than you think and has a high voice. He voices his frustration in saying that squirrels are like cats, and they can have as many lives as they think they can get away with. Whatever that means. Every time we come back, we're dropped from the sky by a big skeleton hand. To get more lives, we have to collect these large squirrel tails that are hanging random places throughout the world. Inside the barn, we meet Frankie the pitchfork, Reg the paintbrush, and Ron the paint can. Reg and Ron instigate Frankie into attacking us in the barn. We maneuver him into attacking the hay globs that are bouncing around us and taking care of all of them. And after he fails to hurt us, Reg and Ron tell Frankie to go take care of himself. And what I mean by that is awful. And, yeah, that's bad. He makes an attempt to do so, but he realizes he's a pitchfork, and so just gets stuck tied to the ceiling of the barn. It's very dark. As he's stuck, a giant hay monster comes out to hop around, scaring the paint can and the paintbrush. We navigate to the top of the barn, fight off some bats with our context-sensitive flamethrower, free Frankie, and he becomes our bestest friend in the whole world. I think I did a pretty good impression there. We use him to take on the hay monster, similarly attacking him like the other guy, except we're, on Frankie's back. Eventually we fall through the floor, and it's revealed that he's a robot. I didn't see that coming. This is just ridiculous. And then the boss battle ensues. We get him to fire missiles at these large pipes, exposing water and electric wires, which obviously don't mix. Then when he gets electrocuted, he starts spinning, and we can use Frankie to go to his back, jump up, and we get a context icon that Conker punches the big red button on his back. It's pretty tough to actually know what to do. I vaguely remember this boss fight, but I was having a hard time figuring out how to trigger the context-sensitive icon. It's very specific, and you'll find yourself trying to figure stuff out a lot in Conker. It's not always straightforward. Eventually we beat him, and Frankie gets split in half, but, Conker fixes him up with some duct tape, and he feels pretty good about it, so it's fine, right? Anyway, so he bails on us as the lower level starts filling with water, and there are electrical wires everywhere. We have to climb some ladders, throw some knives, cut the wires, and eventually we will make it out. We can now navigate up to the top of the barn and context-sensitively turn into a giant anvil to hit the switch and open up a small gateway to grab some more cash. Barn Boys overall is a fun introduction to the game whose platforming so far is fairly unforgiving compared to Rare's other projects like Banjo or Donkey Kong. It fundamentally plays different than them, but it's still a platformer and we're in for a treat. The aesthetic of this world is really kooky, just country with a barn. I don't know what to say other than that. The cheese part is pretty funny, though. I'm going to give Barn Boys an 8 out of 10. So coming out of Barn Boys, we move into the right and see a mountain of poo. It's so stinky that Conker has to put a gas mask on. Enter this little hut, and we hear the answer to the problem of the table that the professor's been slaving over for a while now. A red squirrel. Of course, that's right. The solution to the broken table is Conker himself, being the perfect size to fit that gap. Makes sense. That's the plot. We meet a new friend who's a dung beetle, and he asks us if we want some poo, and of course we do. He tells us to go get the cows to poo. So let's do it. Let's go get those cows to poo. And to get those cows to poo, we enter a tunnel and climb some ropes. Surrounded by poo-poo garbage. The whole world's aesthetic is poo-poo garbage. And I mean that in the most literal sense. There are waterfalls of poo everywhere, and the music is just my kind of tune with lots of farts and swingy brass. Making it up to the top, we meet a wonderful bull who hates red and therefore hates us because we are red. Climbing up this side structure, we have a giant pipe we can run on around the handle to twist it open and trigger some prune juice in this trough to get some female cows to come drink it. And it gives them, as Conker puts it,
Drink that, is gonna get the screaming squid.
Through the power of context sensitivity, we can lure the bull into a target, hop into him, riding into the cows, pushing them away from eating grass and to drink the juice. Eventually they'll poop profusely and we can hit them in the middle till they explode. Do this enough and the dung beetle rewards you with a wonderful poo ball. A fitting reward. I love the music that plays when we're riding the bull. It's like very, luchadore. And even when the bull misses you and you dodge his attacks, an audience cheers. The cows and the bull are both fun models. The detail in the poo coming out of the cows, though, is actually really good, and you can tell a lot of love went into that, which is it's telling of this game. Just wanted to briefly highlight that heading back, the place is full of poo, so we have to swim underwater. Through the power of context, Conker gets confidence pills and can now swim without his floaties. It's not as snappy controls as Banjo, but it works, and it's decently fast. We can see our bull friend who previously fell down the drain, and I'm sure he's loving this. He looks like he's having a great time. Oh wait, is he dead? He might be dead. Now that we have a poo ball, we can roll it like they do in Katamari and gain size, crushing it and exploding it on this dung beetle. So we can grab another and get past that section, push the poo into the top of the mountain, it rolls down and breaks the gate to this bottom pathway. Entering in that bottom pathway, there's a dung beetle that warns us to run and says his friends got taken by something. We ignore him, obviously, progress in the poo mountain, and hear a voice that tells us to bring him corn. So naturally, we throw the conveniently placed corn off these edges into the poo, until finally we get a glorious track playing, and a ferocious creature ascends from the mass of poo. He'll introduce himself as...
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my at you.
This is another boss battle. Look at this model. This is a giant stinky pile of poo, and he's got crazy teeth, and it's awesome, and I love it. This may be the best character in the game. Honestly, it'll be hard to top. We'll see. So far, great mighty Pooh, 10 out of 10. He sings at us with this glorious tune. It's a sing-along. Oh my gosh, what's not to love about this level? We wait for his mouth to open, and hitting these context-sensitive buttons, we acquire large rolls of toilet paper that we can then cram down his throat. Do this enough, and he eventually sings loud enough to break this glass, and we can pull the flusher, and bye-bye, Mr. Poo-Poo. What a gloriously amazing boss battle. I'd be hard-pressed to call what we did another level entirely, because it wasn't as in-depth as Barn Boys, but reviewing this part of the world, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, because it was marvelous. We'll jump down the giant hole. We find a nice floor drain and Conker dives in head first. Only problem is, we find some propeller blade things down here that look like people may have been... Well, oh well, it's probably fine. Make it through and navigate upward, we get to meet some wonderful soldiers. Now these guys are very smart weasels and nothing gets by them. I mean, look at them. They just scream intelligence. They ask us for $1,000 to get by. I guess we're gonna have to go make some cash. So we head back to Pooh Town to do just that. Snag a poo ball and we Katamari it off this edge to take care of this armored goblin guy. These guys are such a huge pain, especially in the water, but we'll get to that. While he's covered in poo, we can hit the switch behind him, and it sucks everything in the lake down the drain. Don't get too close, or you'll get sucked too. That's what she said. We immediately get summoned by a seductive voice. It's a catfish. Meow. There's a few of them that offer us cash. What a deal. All we have to do is take care of this dogfish. Easy peasy. She did call us disposable, but you know what? Big deal. We're in it for the cash. I'd do anything for money. I mean, this dogfish does have some serious teeth, but he's tied up, so meh. We can then swim in this hole and meet just the kindest...
Why is it everybody so offensive around here?
Good question, Conker. I wish I knew. Well, if we flip him over, it's revealed the other cog is much nicer. Maybe a little too nice, but whatever. We swim through another tunnel and find the missing cogs, and to unlock the tunnel we must climb the tower, burning bats as we go. And then we can pull a switch opening the pathway to the next tunnel. Once we find the cogs we can slap them and carry them back and place them on this and... What the heck did I just do? Well, I guess anything for money, like I said. Let's get the others, I guess, and be done with it. The next one is fairly easy to get, but the one after is kind of hard, so it's time for a Jiggylookback pro gamer tip! It's all about timing. Make her run around one side and then chase her so she turns the other way. Then quickly run around close to the middle and run to the other wall like this and smack her real good with the frying pan. Perfect. And that's how you catch cogs. This has been a Jiggylookback Pro Gamer Tip. Put the last cog on, and we can rotate them using this large wheel, and that'll bring the dog's leash in nice and tight. It starts rotating so fast, though, our nice cog friend flies off. The women revolts and put him on Mr. Big Cog. Oh gosh. He flips to his other side, and now he's grateful for it. And the women are grateful too, so much that we get a little smoochy poo action. Before we leave, let's talk about this music. It reminds me of a Heist, honestly. It's slow and swingy, kind of relaxing. Which is good, because climbing can be a real pain. Swim back out, and we get the catfish to unlock their safe. The combination is changing the word wrong to right. Wonderful. I love it. Getting into the safe, we see money and it runs from us jumping down this hatch filled with water. It closes, but we get a context moment where we can shoot the letters O-P-E-N. And for all of you who weren't first grade spelling bee champs, that spells open. If you miss a letter or do something wrong, these goblin guys run at you and you get hurt. Don't get hurt. Do better. The floor opens up and we can strap a hat with the light on and go for a swim. Now this is a hard one. Both the hat and the next area. Conker has to make use of these bubble pipes to fill up with air or else he won't make it. These giant steel fish things are swimming around and will bite you if you get too close. Navigating these tunnels can be a huge pain, honestly. But if you travel through the right path, you can pull a switch to open a closed-off area similar to the one you entered in, swim up, and out. Easier said than done, I promise. Finally, we can dry off and stop mother grabbing swimming. I mean, jeez. We press on, meet some fire imps smoking and drinking. Also farting sparks. It's actually pretty funny. They say we seem flammable and target us. Their laughs are reminiscent of the beavers in Donkey Kong and kind of low-key irritating. So, with what ensues next, I thought I'd do a little illustration for you so you can get a good understanding of how this next ability works. Conker drinks from the tap and fills up on fluids. He then hobbles his way toward the imps where he can then go pee-pee to put their flames out. You can run out of fluids, but you can fill back up, but before you do that, you have to take some medicine to get back on your feet. Do this enough and they hop into a giant boiler machine guy with big brass balls. We lure him to these grates where we can jump up, pull a wire switch thing to dump stuff on him, which causes him to be stunned. Then we can go up and smash his balls through the power of contact sensitivity. We do this enough times and booms, he falls apart and we win. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of my art. I'm sure you were very impressed and didn't know I was such an artist. We can now roll his balls. Let's use one to hold this pressure plate down to open a door, and then push the other one down to open this tunnel and be able to get the cash. Now we can exit the safe and get back to those catfish. Meow. Honestly, they tried to rip us off by giving us 10% of $10, which is $1 after all that work. Conker isn't for this, so he decided just to take it all. They notice that the dogfish is going to get loose, so they leave. We start swimming back, and boom, he's loose. We can then use them to slow him down so we can get to safety. And it's pretty violent and graphic as he tears through all the catfish. Eventually we make it to land and we get a Sonic Adventure moment where the dogfish tears apart this bridge and then eventually gets stuck on the wall. We can use him to reach a spot with lots of cash, so we snag it. Alright, let's get a little bit of a reward here. This is better than $10 for sure. Conker's level's naming system is kind of whack. I guess this place is called Bat's Tower. So Bat's Tower was okay. We met some colorful characters, but there was a lot of swimming. Too much if you ask me, so I'm going to give this area a 7.5 out of 10. Now we can get past those highly intelligent soldiers. One of them's taking a poo as we approach, so he can't correct his friend. The friend asks for the toll and says, "Hang on, we're looking for a squirrel, and you fit the description." Conker convinces him, though, he's not a squirrel, he's an elephant. And he gets by. Ha! Got him! Holy crap, dinosaurs. I have a hunter next level will be a bit prehistoric. You can see these small T-Rex raptor looking things. Just avoid them or else they'll hurt you. Navigate up to the top and we can context sensitively smash this statue down, making us fall right in front and also on top of these cavemen. This is called Uga Buga. Very similar name to the cavemen in Pterodactyland and Tui. You'll notice we can head over to one side that turns blue, and these stone-like golem guys will attack us if we get too close. Eagle-eyed viewers who remember the cutscene where Barry gets kidnapped will remember her getting kidnapped by one of these creatures. The trick here is one of the snowmen can be rolled over to this pathway and we can push them down the hill to open up the next area. Don't mind the guys we just smushed. Conker's so shocked to see the next area his eyes pop out. There's a giant dino head sitting here surrounded by lava pits with cavemen worshipping it in reverence. Let's talk about that music though. Holy crap, this tune is a bop. I love the chanting and xylophone with the strong drums. Very island-like, mixed with that Conker windy theme underneath. It's epic. We can navigate to this door that'll open for us and we see a giant egg. Make our way to this egg and sit on it, and it hatches into a little dino. Oh, he's so cute with the little diaper and giant eyes. It crushes this tablet dude and calls us its mama. Oh, okay, we'll be your mama. We'll adopt you. He follows you down the path and will eat all the cavemen because a growing dinosaur needs their nutrients. Eventually we can lead it in front of this big dino head, hit the switches on the wall, and get it on this platform and... Oh no, our baby. Oh, I just feel so bad. This genuinely made me sad. We just smoosh him. I guess our sacrifice was something this head wanted, and it opens up. We can climb to the top, grab some cash, but also go inside the mucus-filled throat. To do that, we dump some pepper in his nostrils. This makes him sneeze, and it totally goes into this caveman's mouth. Ugh. Inside this head is nasty and slimy. The sound effects are just atrocious. Honestly, how many uvulas does this thing have? Just a serious question. We get to the other side and we can acquire a caveman hat that looks super stylish on us. And now when we get back, basically the other cavemen worship us. Conker recruits them, and let's go take care of those rock guys. They honestly make easy work of those guys, and I added a few frying pan hits in for good measure. And wow, this guy wouldn't let us in because of sneakers, and that's so lame. I don't like that. We're getting in. And he got us in. One of our guys even knew the password to get in. I love this little meta moment we get when Conker refers to the prologue. And now we can mother grabbing party! Treat yourself 2023. So in here we'll see Barry dancing in a cage. Let's look at the Stoneman models because we have girl ones here, and these are just hilarious. They basically look exactly the same, just with blonde wigs and assets. The party music is loud and obnoxious, and honestly, it kind of gets on my nerves after a while, just kind of like a real club. You'll notice some cavemen that look like they're straight out of Back to the Future, but we'll ignore them for now. We can push this rock to the switch by the entrance. Then if we go by the keg, we can fill up and start peeing on the stone guys, causing them to turn into balls. Using the power of urination, we can push them through the holes, and then it'll unlock Barry's cage, freeing her. She runs off not recognizing us though because of her hat. Our disguise is pretty clever, I'll admit. We tried to chase after her, but I guess we got caught taking cash, and now we have to go see the boss, which is like a weasel mafia. I love it. Conker says hey to Barry, and she says she doesn't know him and doesn't associate with cavemen, so maybe this disguise is better than I thought. The boss says he doesn't mind us keeping the money, but we gotta do something for him. I love how in the meeting with the other weasels, he basically just calls out Paulie and takes him out with a bat. That's pretty intense. Poor Paulie. I think it's a cool piece of trivia that there was actually a Pikachu reference in this meeting, where you could see Pikachu's tail run over to him, and Nintendo actually requested that this be cut out. I don't know if it's available in any version, but apparently some people who hack and mod the game can actually unlock it, and you can find the Pikachu tail. That's pretty cool. So basically he tasks us with taking a bomb to take out the cavemen. We drop the bombs in the egg we hatched, and it blows up, causing lava to fill in the chamber. This is kind of a timed event, and we have to get there fairly quickly. It's not very forgiving either, so you gotta be fast. Not good, not good. We get a convenient pathway to make it outside though, and we get sucker punched and knocked out. It's revealed that the Back to the Future punks took our money. Now we have to engage in a hoverboard race over lava and get our money back from these hooligans. Board controls are pretty simple. We move side to side, pushing forward on the joystick makes you go faster, and pulling back makes you go slower. We can also jump, and get close enough to the punks that we can hit them with our frying pan. We just race on a loop until they're all defeated. It's reminiscent of Diddy Kong Racing as we have to avoid these giant walking dinosaurs. It's got some pretty intense racing music here that's fast. I like the different feel with blaring electric guitar and synth. After defeating them and snagging the cash, we get launched into a combat arena. Gosh, Conker can't catch a break here. He thinks he's appreciated and cheered for, but we get a cutaway to a giant caveman dude with a big bone, and with a huge bodacious babe by his side. A dino comes in and tears apart another dude that was in the arena that we tried to befriend. It chases after Conker to eat him. We have to get to the context-sensitive button in the middle and pull out a pocket watch to hypnotize it so we can ride on it. I love these context things. They're just so ridiculous. Then we eat everyone in the arena. A second wave gets released and we have to eat the soldiers this time. Then the leader himself comes onto the scene. We wait for him to just about swing at us and we can smack him in the nuts, then go to the other side and bite his booty as he bends over. Look at how the chunks are just taken out of him. That's just disgusting and nasty, but I love it. Dude enough and his pants fall entirely, and it's revealed his package is really small. Everyone laughs at him, including his babe. He runs off in embarrassment. We say goodbye to the dino, who became our friend, and go see that babe and her big babes. Conker faints and wakes up in her hands. It's revealed her name is Jugga. Appropriate. We say goodbye, love you, and chase after some money. This world was pretty crazy, and I felt a lot happened. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was pretty entertaining, and I loved the aesthetic. And no swimming. Let's start off with snagging the queen bee's hive again. The wasp stole it, and we need to get it back. Again. We get to enter their previously inaccessible hive, and can hop in the beehive and use it as a turret to destroy all the wasps, and then finally get to carry the hive back to the queen sequence again. This time, we get a butt-ton more cash. Now I'll be honest, I was lost after this. I navigated everywhere. Then I remembered this barrel guy in the middle. But to trigger him, we have to snag one more wad of cash, which you can access by hopping the holes in the upper part of the wasp hive. Then we can talk to him and run on top of the barrel like a clown and squish all these annoying worm guys that try to eat you on the way up. This opens a new pathway downstream and knocks Conker out. He then wakes up, and it's nighttime. Navigate through the path, and we can see Death trying to catch catfish, which he seems pretty frustrated about.
Bloody believe it. They've got fish fresh into the little now. Come here. I'll show them.
We talk to him, and he warns us about the undead, our ancestor, and arms us with a shotgun. Oh, yeah. So if we go just up the pathway, we have a big door he opens for us, and we have to fight off the undead that rise from the graves. We pull out the shotgun by pressing B. It replaces our frying pan. We can either hip fire by just tapping B, or we can hold R and aim. Only headshots defeat zombies, so you want to be sure to do that. It's kind of hard because the zombies are quick and there are a lot of them, but I jumped on a gravestone and that seemed to help. Defeat enough of the zombies and Death opens up the door to the next path. Let's talk about this area really quick. The zombies look absolutely disgusting. Look at these models. They truly are terrifying. Also, the creepy atmosphere of the graveyard is great. But look close at the tombstones. They have funny sayings on them. Mr. Arsehole, Mrs. I.P. Freely, Mr. I.C. Nuts, Mr. C-Man, Mrs. P-Stain, and finally, Mr. I.B. Floppy. All pretty funny. After getting the next pathway open, we have to carefully navigate up, avoiding the undead worms trying to get to us. Once we do, we can enter Count Batula's mansion. I guess he's our ancestor? He's a creepy gray squirrel with a funny voice. Conker mentions that the picture in his dining hall looks a lot like him. And since it's him, I guess it's canon here that red squirrels eventually turn into gray ones. Anyways, he treats us to a wonderful meal. We have a great conversation, and then we hear a commotion. The villagers are coming. So he turns us into a bat to do his bidding. This next part is awesome. We can fly around, and we can drop poo. The goal is to knock out the villagers, then pick them up and carry them to this giant grinder thing on the floor, and it makes a protein smoothie for Batula. Batula. He asks us to keep collecting. We do. And once he's fat enough, he falls into the grinder and we return back to normal. Whew. I thought we might be stuck that way. we can explore his mansion. We're trying to find keys to open the front door, and there are 3 of them. Zombies are found throughout the mansion, and bats are as well, which, to beat the bats, we hit these context-sensitive buttons and shoot crossbow bolts at them. This place is ginormous and has several areas. A dining room, a big main entrance with stairs, a courtyard, and a library. Also tons of hallways. I love looking at the pictures here of Conker's ancestors. Or are they all the same person? I don't know. Eventually we find the keys and escape, and we can get another barrel guy, this time running out the door and over all the undead worms. This area was a real treat. I like the spooky aesthetic and the change up of gameplay. Although it could be tough, it was pretty great. I'm going to give the spooky chapter a 9 out of 10. Navigating our way back to Windy, we're greeted to a cutscene to be recruited by the Squirrel Army against the evil Teddies. To be fair, they do look really creepy. I think I've seen these guys somewhere before. Oh yeah, that's right. I love the music that's here, plus it's very fitting. The main guy is also hilarious. So there's a little hatch area with barbed wire you may recall seeing when we dealt with the hive situation. Well, that's where we need to go. So let's do it. Into the war we go! We enter the port and get a cutscene of squirrel pilots who fell asleep on the job and get shot down. Now we're tasked with having to clear the wreckage to get our soldiers out to the battle. So basically we have to do 2 things. 1, restore power to the place, and we do that by using this conveniently placed electric eel and swimming under these power coupler things. As he chases us, it powers it up. Then once up, we have to go find this guy who's just got done taking a poo. You'll notice the giant explosive on his back, conveniently. We literally have to push him to just next to the wreckage, and then we can hit this context button to blow up the explosive on his back. We do that 2 times, 1 on the left side, 1 on the right. Then we get to meet 2 different enemy types here, which are the ammo crates that function just like the metal boxes and these Spider-Man guys. Now we get thanked for completing the task and knocked out. Wow, you're welcome. We wake up on a boat with other soldiers and greeted to this faithful reenactment of Saving Private Ryan. Lots of dead squirrels here. We do our best to progress forward in their name and stop the evil Teddies. That scene was animated with so much love. It's amazing. All the soldier models are so cool with their helmets and everything. I love it. It's now time for us to rip out these 2 automatic submachine guns and a cigar. Let's go to town. We make our way through the bunkers and take out some Teddies. The controls are the same as the shotgun, just things are a lot faster. The Teddies are fearsome and you want to take them out fast. As we move through the bunker, you'll see these bright lasers. Don't touch them. They'll end you. And don't be surprised by the Teddies dropping in. Eventually, we'll get chased by Spider-Mines and have to ride the elevator away from them. Then we see some more Teddies and some flamethrower guys. Follow that up with a room full of evil doctors who are torturing squirrels. Look how creepy these guys are, especially if they're all stitched together. We get a funny moment where Conker tries to help a squirrel tied to an electric chair. We get a 50-50 shot to hurt him or help him. Whoops. But he's alive, so it's all good. And for real this time, he actually is alive. Now we have to avoid the fire from this giant machine gun until we can take out the one operating it by using a context-sensitive button giving us a bazooka. Then we can take the machine gun over and stop the oncoming Teddy's onslaught. Eat lead, mother stuffers. Heading outside, we see a firing squad on this squirrel named Rodent. We stop them and he tells us about his indestructible armor. So we basically use him as cover and hide behind him to protect us from incoming fire. Although this part's frustrating, I've had some issues with similar missions like this where the AI in the game just doesn't quite work the way I need it to. But it's fine, I got past it. Then we can open this door and eventually we find a tank! We have to then blow up this watchtower by navigating around and shooting the legs at the base. Once done, we have a great fall and we see a little squirrel girl. We go to comfort her and have to stop these submarines from firing missiles at us. We can blow them up with our bazooka and context-sensitive buttons. But it gets pretty fast, honestly, and gets a little challenging. Rodent then pops back up just as we're about to help this girl and yells at Conker to get away from the girl. It's revealed it's not a girl, but some weird puppet hand robot thing? Is it alive? I don't know. But it's definitely evil. And it's on a giant teddy. Look at that model. It's like a spider bear robot. Also, that Exorcist reference, that's hilarious. Conker doesn't even have a daughter.
I don't have a daughter.
We use the tank this battle. We have to blast the girl off the hand of the teddy, and then the bear goes for her, and once he does, we shoot him in the back. Do this enough, and blast off its weapons while you're at it, and we'll win. But it seems like Rodent didn't make it, because our tank blows up. Poor Rodent.
A great guy.
The girl puppet thing triggers a self-destruct, and we gotta get the heck out of there. Dodging lasers, beating teddies. It was super hard, honestly. I found myself dying left and right over and 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 over. But take your time, and you can do it. It's just very tricky. Then we escape on the ship, and it's revealed. Rodent's alive! He flies by. Good for him. He's our hero. He gets a standing ovation. But Queen Bee isn't. Surprise! R.I.P. Queen. R.I.P. Its War was a great chapter. Definitely was overly difficult at times. But oh my gosh, was it memorable and had so many really funny characters and moments. It was awesome. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. To reach the last section of the game, we must navigate up to where the windmill was here in Windy. You'll notice everything's been destroyed. But it's not important. I'm sure everything will work out in the end. In fact, I know it will. We enter this tunnel and come out to be greeted by the leader of the Weasel Mafia, who's honestly a little peeved we didn't leave town, but decided since we're here we may as well do another job for him. I guess that makes sense. Barry comes out all in leather and sunglasses, looking like Trinity from The Matrix. She then recognizes Conker, now that we've taken our clever disguise off. So he asks us to get into the Federal Reserve Bank and steal money for him. Conker agrees, but only if he gets a cool outfit like Barry. I think that's fair. And boom! We now look like Neo, or really anyone else from the Matrix series. We then get a cool walking through security cutscene. Conker's bag sets off the alarm, and we have to get into action. We take out the guards with style and submachine guns. Barry does help us for a second. Then we proceed on to one of the most difficult sections in the game. I kid you not. I think the only part of the game that's been this hard so far was actually escaping the war. But basically, we can hide behind these pillars as weasel guards come in waves to shoot at us. Pressing B behind the pillars puts us in a slow motion flip where we can fire at these enemies. It's really important to let the enemies shoot and get to a point where they need to reload, or else even in slow motion you're gonna get shot and it hurts bad. Even hiding behind the mother grabbing pillars sometimes can get you hurt. It's so frustrating. Also, Barry is completely useless besides shutting off the lasers after you defeat the waves. She is literally just running back and forth between the pillars and honestly kind of getting in the way. Conker himself gets some cool sequences, one where he does the Neo bullet time dodging, and another where he kicks the crap out of this guy. I think this is really reflective of the early 2000s because I feel like every single game ever or movie like referenced the scene from The Matrix. It's just a sign of the time. This section, even though hard, has a lot of charm and the animations are actually awesome, even from the basic things like flipping and reloading your guns. Eventually, through the power of perseverance and love, we make it to the elevator. Let's talk about that music first. Here's the first time I really noticed how compressed things are. Just listen. It's a cool track for sure. Just insane that they managed to get all the sound effects, music, and voices on a cartridge like the N64 had. But the track does feel great though. It matches the situation perfectly. Back to the scene. We pop out in the bottom floor, and Barry uses her bank heist skills to open the vault and turn off security. We can then enter the vault and start collecting $1 million. This time the cash doesn't willingly come to us, and we have to run and smack it to collect it. Collect a few, and it cuts to a scene where Conker reveals he's picked up $1 million, and he's exhausted. Suddenly, the Panther King comes out of nowhere. Like, literally, where the heck were you? I don't even understand why you're here. It was just kind of bizarre. It was revealed that the Weasel guy was working for him the whole time, and that they were looking for a red squirrel. First time Conker's heard of it. Then the Weasel takes out Barry. And that's really sad.
What the? Hey, mind where you... Barry?
The professor flies out and the king starts having tummy troubles and needs his milk. Until suddenly, an alien pops out of him to attack us. Like, literally an alien from the movie Alien. Like, it looks exactly the same. This This last, like, section of the game, actually the last, like, 2 sections of the game are just filled with movie references. It's pretty wild. Evidently, the professor has been planning this a while. Like, what the heck? Was the milk a plan too? Like, is the milk, like, nurturing it? Maybe, I don't know. Let me know if you know in the comments below. The vault blasts off into space, I guess. How much more convoluted can we get? Conveniently, we can open this airlock, and then grab the suit like Sigourney Weaver had, and teach this alien a thing or two. Oh, also it sucks everyone out into space besides us. I guess it's okay. The only person we cared about was kind of done already. So this boss battle proceeds as follows. So we have to go up to the alien, punch combo him until he gets knocked out. Once he does, we can grab him by the tail and so long, Bowser, him out of here. It's actually kind of difficult to spin him around. It's not as fluid as Mario, and you actually have to rotate the joystick slowly. My theory is that this is a preventative measure so that people didn't damage their controllers. You know, they kind of learned from Mario Party minigames. Anyways, he does catch himself and come back. The second time around, we actually have to let him bite at us, and we crouch to protect ourselves, and that stuns him because he, bites metal, so we can punch him again. After knocking him out a third time, he flies out only to somehow jump back in. I'm like, what? He just defied physics. I don't understand. Oh, wait, no, you know what? He probably pulled like a Saitama. If you've seen that chapter in One Punch Man, sorry, spoilers, he farts, and that makes him move fast in space. So maybe that's what he did. He farted. At the point when he lands back, he jumps at us, Conker's feeling defeated, and everything freezes? Conker breaks the fourth wall, gets out of the armor, and says the game locked up, and reaches out to a software engineer to fix it. He then makes a deal to not say anything about the problem if they help him deal with this stupid alien, and they agree. So now Conker can get in and do anything. Sky's the limit. So naturally, presenting him with anything and countless weapons, he picks up a sword, teleports back to the castle, and cuts the beast's head off. He realizes later he probably should have brought Barry back to life. Well, duh. I guess she's really just gone. R.I.P. Barry. R.I.P. All of a sudden, the Weasel Guards and a bunch of characters come in and make us king. They didn't like the Panther King anyways, apparently. I'm happy to see Marvin's all stitched back up, though it's never really explained. And that is the end of our Conker adventure. This last section and boss fight were awesome with lots of cool cutscenes. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Overall, Conker's Bad Fur Day was a quirky adventure with tons of unique characters. Feels like a true rareware classic, which I haven't felt in a long time. It's an experience I'd say everyone should have at least once. It's so bizarre, and really there's not much like it out there. It can be very challenging at times, but it really pushed the limits of the 64 hardware, and is definitely one of the best looking games on the system. Not to mention the full voice acting. This is incredible. It's on a cartridge. I'd give the game overall an 8 out of 10. Well, that's all I have for you. Oh wait, one more scene. Oh boy, what a setup for Conker's other Bad Fur Day. A potential sequel we could have had and was planned. Shame we didn't get it. Darn it, Microsoft! Thanks for watching Analyzing Conker's Bad Fur Day. We'll be back next week with the start to a new game. But until then, be sure to like this video so it gets pushed out to more viewers. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Also, hit that subscribe button and noti bell so you'll keep up with my uploads. Until next time, have a good one!